Protesters, largely made up of U.S. citizens, gathered Saturday in Spain's capital for a "No Kings" demonstration, what Trump's Republican Party is calling "Hate America" rallies. According to Associated Press, it comes against the backdrop of a government shutdown that not only has closed federal programs and services, but is testing the core balance of power as an aggressive executive confronts Congress and the courts in ways that organizers warn are a slide toward American authoritarianism. A few hundred Americans took part in the protest, which was organized by Democrats abroad, with similar rallies planned in other major European cities. Some conservative politicians have condemned the protests as "Hate America" rallies, while others see them as a fight for First Amendment rights. Protests are planned in over 2,500 locations in America, from major cities to rural communities. For many Democrats, the government closure is a way to stand up to Trump and try to push the presidency back to its place in the U.S. system as a co-equal branch of government. The situation is a potential turnaround from just 6 months ago, when Democrats and their allies were divided and despondent, unsure about how best to respond to Trump's return to the White House.
Watching. The world is watching. The world is watching. The world. Illustrious, the fantastic Alana.
The administration roll back funding already appropriated by Congress to our public broadcast.
Devastated the community. The LGBTQ community has faced relentless attacks.
Los españoles que se están uniendo con nosotros porque se dan cuenta de lo importante. Todos a unirse, a votar, a hablar y a luchar juntos.
Plainclothes agents. They are being denied due process.
The Trump government is not respecting the institutions that every former president always has. The Republican Party is allowing that to happen. The Supreme Court seems to be ruling in his favor on everything, and we're very concerned about all that.
Da-da-da-dum, dump Trump! Da-da-da-dum, dump Trump!
There's another agenda going on, and I think something needs to be done to stay vigilant, to stay active, and to speak out against what's happening.
Trump es fascista, es amigo del Bolsonaro. No, llega de fascismo. Queremos la libertad, queremos estar en un estado libre, donde la democracia puede ser ejercida, nuestras voluntades propias pueden ser ejercidas. Basta del fascismo en el mundo, no solo en Brasil, no solo en España, no solo en Estados Unidos.
Register to vote and non-violent actions. Let's give the Portland Frog a round of applause.
Watching. The world is watching. The world is watching. Y en todo el mundo también.
A leaderless mess. 2004 we had Howard Dean. And we had Nancy Pelosi.
No, sino para todo el mundo lo que está pasando. Entonces él dijo, como miembro de la comunidad LGBTQ+, me duele ver cómo seguimos siendo atacados y como muchos, especialmente los jóvenes, viven con mi llamo a todos a unirse, a votar, a hablar y a luchar juntos. Solo así podremos defender.
By masked plainclothes agents. They are being denied due process.
Ukraine has shifted to a more sustained campaign of deep strikes against Russian territory, systematically targeting Russian energy infrastructure as it rapidly expands production of long-range drones and missiles, Politico reports. For much of the war, Moscow's strikes on Ukrainian cities and energy facilities went largely unanswered. That is changing. Kiev now mounts near-daily strikes inside Russia, hitting not only oil refineries but also power plants and substations, enabled by domestic weapons development and higher production rates. According to the BBC, Ukraine has struck 21 of Russia's 38 major refineries this year, degrading roughly 38% of the country's refining capacity. Those attacks have contributed to fuel shortages and forced Russia to import petrol from Belarus. The shift forms part of Kyiv's deterrence logic, to make attacks on Ukraine costly enough that the Kremlin would think again. President Volodymyr Zelensky framed the approach as imposing the war's costs on the enemy while stressing restraint towards civilians. The enemy must bear the cost of this war. But we do not kill civilians, he said. Ukraine is not waiting only for foreign assistance and is actively ramping up its own production of drones and missiles. According to the president, new models have appeared, strike drones and missiles, including cruise ones, and they are already being used against targets deep inside Russia. The piece also highlights closer cooperation with U.S. intelligence, which helps target and understand the enemy's intentions. Well, intelligence agencies are cooperating very actively. But for us, it is more important that they help to understand Russian intentions, help with air defense, said one Ukrainian interlocutor who wished to remain anonymous. Politico reports that recent weeks illustrate the escalation on both sides. On October 10, the Kremlin launched more than 450 drones and about 30 missiles at Kyiv and other Ukrainian cities, causing partial blackouts. Russia has also mounted massive waves of strikes this year. One recent week saw over 3,100 drones, 92 missiles and roughly 1,360 glide bombs aimed largely at energy targets in Ukraine. Kyiv, in turn, struck a civilian power plant in Russia's Belgorod region earlier this month, triggering blackouts there. Ukraine's expanding long-range arsenal is central to the campaign. Zelensky and other officials say Kyiv has increased production of more lethal drones and missiles and is no longer waiting for external deliveries alone. Our weapons have become better and that also is helpful, a Ukrainian official told Politico on condition of anonymity, adding that U.S. intelligence cooperation, described as very active, has assisted Kyiv, notably in understanding Russian intentions and bolstering air defense efforts. Western reporting supports the claim of external support for targeting. The Financial Times has reported that the U.S. has provided targeting information to help Ukraine strike Russian energy infrastructure. The broader aim, Kyiv says, is to ratchet up pressure so the Kremlin feels the impact of the war and is compelled to reassess its course.